Let's hit a couple stories all at once. We got this from Newsbusters. From Brian Stelter over at CNN. Peter Doocy provoked Biden. Fox, worse for America than S.O.B insults. So let's slow down. So this is a story about, it was Peter Doocy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he's a journalist, and he asked Biden on the way out of this conference or whatever. He was just like, is inflation a political liability? Joe Biden, not realizing that his mic was still on, he said, he's like, inflation, what a great asset. What a stupid son of a bitch about Peter Doocy. Apparently, Doocy said that Biden called him and, said it was nothing personal, pal, or whatever, and, effectively apologized. Fox was particularly gracious. They were like, okay, we're over it. And now Brian Stelter is saying Doocy provoked him. It's because they have to.
Yeah.
It's because they have to have the narrative of the enemy. These people are our enemy. These people are evil. And I'm just like, this is exactly why the corporate press is aflame and spiraling out of control.
And it's in less than 12 hours that the narrative has changed. Last night in his newsletter with Oliver Darcy, former conservative reporter turned Brian Stelter mini-me, the two of them had a bit about this, and Stelter says, well, we're not really going to spend a lot of time on this because it's not worth our time and there's a lot more important things going on. Here's what happened. It's wrong. The end. So in less than 12 hours, we've gone from that to they're doing multiple CNN segments about it, and Brian Stelter saying what Doocy asked was a provocation, even though Jake Tapper said on Jimmy Kimmel last night that the question was fairly aerodyne. Like it was, do you believe that inflation is going to be a political liability for you with the midterms?
I do think. That's it. I think, man. Part of me wants to say it's a dumb question to ask because we all know the answer to it.
Correct.
Yeah. But it proved to be a very, very good question to ask.
Right. Well, and Doocy has explained this by saying that, okay, so it was a meeting of the White House Competition Council about the economy, and most of his cabinet was there. And he'd given remarks about the economy. So then reporters started shouting him questions about Ukraine and Russia. And he expressed annoyance at that nobody was asking him questions about the economy. So Doocy is, hey, I've got are you taking questions about the economy? And then he shouted his question about inflation. So Doocy was on topic, what Biden wanted to talk about, and he gave that reaction.
I kind of get it, because if his question is like, hey, Biden, is inflation bad? Like, it's like, are you insulting my intelligence, dude? Like, I get why Biden might have reacted like that. But this is a chance for Joe to come out and be like, hey, America, hey, everybody, I'm sorry about the way I reacted. I'm under a lot of stress. This is unprecedented what we're experiencing as a human race. Bear with me.
Why is it that we can say that exact line, Ian, but they don't? Why is it that we can be like, yo, just come out and be like, let me just be honest with you guys. So when we had the CEO of Getter on the show, we then had the CEO of Gab on the show. And I think it was Andrew Torba. He said, if the CEO of Getter came out and just was like, look, we banned Nick Fuentes because we're under a lot of pressure from these big corporations who are trying to shut us down, and we were effectively forced to do it, and we're unhappy about it. That's the reality of the situation. People would have been like, wow, I think it sucks, but I respect him for being honest. Instead, he's just like, no, he broke the rules, so we banned him. It's like, he couldn't even answer the question. I don't understand why it is that people can't just be completely straightforward. Hey, we had to do this. Like, our hands are tied and we're unhappy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and how relieved would everyone would be, and then we could just move on if Brian Stelter just came out and said, I am a paid hack who Jeff Zucker tells me to, wake up every day and talk about how Fox News is the enemy of the people. It would be totally fine.
I understand why Brian Stelter would never do anything like that. And it's different from Ian saying Biden could have been like, he can come out later and be like, yeah, I'm sorry for doing that, snapping, man. It's a stressful job. You have to understand, and just be like really straightforward. The thing about Brian Stelter, though, is there's a difference between, a president who's trying to maintain an image and a guy who's paid to maintain an image. So, look, Joe Biden's trying to save face. He may or may not come out and be honest about why he reacted that way. Brian Stelter was hired specifically to lie to people. So he would never be honest about his position because it would just completely upend his entire career.
Well, and to your point about Joe could have framed it in a kind of a folksy way. He could have said, yeah, even though nothing personal, but he could have just said it he could come out and said, yeah, I'm under a lot of stress. This country's facing a lot of challenges, but we're going to get through it together. I asked for your prayers and support. Anything.
You ever see that movie with Robin Williams where he's basically like Jon Stewart running for president? What was that? Dave.
One called? No, that's not.
Man of the People or something?
No.
What was it called? You know what I'm talking about, right? He's like, Robin Williams plays this comedian, and then he announces he's going to run for president, and then he starts winning, but then it turns out there's like a glitch in the system.
Man of the Year.
Okay. It was actually kind of creepy propaganda if you watch it, because it's basically, at the time, there was that joke about Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert running for president because everyone was really excited about it. Yeah, not Colbert, but Jon Stewart's all right. But everyone was really excited. And they make this movie where it's like Robin Williams is like, it was really bad that I would run and become president or whatever. But anyway, I bring up this movie because in it, the reason he does really well is because he's candid with people. He's honest and he just says it. And he's sick and tired of the machine. Then there's also that movie Bulworth. You ever see Bulworth?
No, I've heard of that though.
Bulworth, that's the movie where the guy, he's a senator and he wants to kill himself. So he hires an assassin to end his own life. And then so he's just like at these meetings and he's just saying everything exactly as everyone knows. He goes to a black church and they're like, last time you came and campaigned, you promised X, Y, and Z. Why didn't you fulfill those promises? And he's like, well, because you voted for us and you're not going to vote for anybody else. I mean, come on, let's be real.
Wow.
And
my God.
It's an amazing movie, but people, they end up loving him and then he wants to live or whatever. But why is it that in our culture, we understand that we just are desperate for someone to be honest, to say the things we all know to be true, to finally admit it when you are lying, cheating, and stealing? Like, how many viewers does Brian Stelter get? 7? Like, let's be honest, 80,000 maybe?
Yeah, he has on some Sundays pulled in the demo about 80,000.
80,000.
In the demo, yeah.
Like, nobody is watching this guy. At a certain point, I have to wonder, it's like, why even bother? It's like, imagine building a bridge, and then, like, the end of the bridge just goes straight into a brick wall. It's like, why did you build that? So why is he doing this show? Like, it's ridiculous. Here we are talking about the guy constantly. I'm wondering when we're going to break into that moment where I think we're getting there with shows like Joe Rogan's show, with shows like this, where we just have an honest, and I don't mean like revealing secrets about military and stuff like that within reason. I mean like someone literally, like imagine if you got a government official and they were like, a video was released by Julian Assange showing a drone strike killing civilians. And he said, I wish I could tell all the American people every single thing that goes on, but there's a reason why we have confidential stuff. And there's a lot of really disgusting things the American military has done that I think if the American people found out about, they'd be very angry. But I also hope people realize that, there are, people who are trying their best to keep Americans safe. And that means warfare is a gruesome, bloody thing.
No, that's a hard sell for the American. If the people knew how we were using white phosphorus in Fallujah in Iraq, how they were using it as an incandescent to light up the scenery, but what it's actually doing is melting human skin of the civilians on the ground that they're exploding it over. If people knew that we were melting the skin of the civilians in Iraq when we were there, it would have been a different narrative. And if they found out today, I think it would be pretty jarring.
But I'm saying, like, if a guy came out and said, here's why we can't talk about some of this stuff, because if you realized what we did in your name, this country probably couldn't survive. That this country, this country is, we are wealthy, we are comfortable. And then when you have to learn about the things that this country has done, and you're like, it's kind of disgusting. Obama killed kids, a lot of them. And no American's going to vote in favor of that. So they try and keep it hush hush. I can understand when they're like, it's top secret, it's confidential. And, we believe we're doing good. Personally, I don't think I think they're not doing good all the time. I think there's a lot of corruption. I think they do, weapons deals for the sake of weapons deals. But my point is more so like they come out and they say, freedom, it's evil people who hate freedom. And it's just like, shut up. Like there's oil fields in Syria. We understand why you don't want Trump pulling the troops out. Maybe I just overestimate the average person. The fact that there are Democrats who buy into all this stuff and keep believing it says a lot, but maybe that's breaking. Maybe it's breaking.
It's slowly but surely, I think, especially now that Trump, is not in the Oval Office. He's not president. Sitting there, that's Joe Biden is at the lever here, that he's the president and he's running the show, whether you like it or not. And, they have to figure out other things, and that's why they continue to focus on things like January 6th, so that Trump is still a dominant picture. So we don't want to see what's going on over here with Joe Biden, and I think enough people are starting to see through that it's like, and people, as I've said before, want all kinds of topics covered in their news coverage. And they want their politicians to be very versatile and be able to answer these questions like you guys have talked about, that really span the spectrum, instead of just go down to these boilerplate things that I think people realize that we may have done this to ourselves, but that doesn't mean we can't find our way out of it.
I think we're winning. You know, yeah, the ratings collapse. The machine is desperately trying to prop up these shows. YouTube props up these big networks because they have to. Because, you know, they have this multi-billion-dollar machine to propagandize and manipulate, and it's not working. Yeah. You got people in their bathrooms on their phones getting more views.
Yeah, and the way you look at it is these networks, it's this partnership with these networks that, you know, what's to say if the YouTube and these social media platforms didn't do what they said, that there would be, you know, that we're going to report negatively on you. The same, you know, you want us to go Fox News or, you know, the way other platforms did on you guys? I don't think so. It's the symbiotic relationship where they think they need each other to survive.
Yeah.
And that's why they're pushing all of these, you know, new networks onto YouTube and streaming platforms. CNN Plus, are you kidding me? You know, that they have lured away all of this talent.
Chris Wallace.
Oh, Chris Wallace.
Amazing. Jake
Tapper's going to do a book show interviewing authors. They hired a host from NPR. You know, they hired Rex Chapman.
It's tiring.
It's tiring, but they're doing it because they are continuing to try and survive. Where they've now entered our marketplace, YouTube and social media platforms, so that they can push everyone else out.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to watch live, you can check out this channel Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, and if you want more unfiltered and uncensored content with all of these guests, go to timcast.com and become a member. All of these guests you know and love in exclusive segments on our website where we are unrestricted in what we talk about, so you'll definitely not want to miss it. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you all next time.